You know those days when you need something, but you're not sure if it's a nap, a walk, or a hug from a sunflower? You are not the only one. Hey, I'm Kimberly. Before life shifted in 2020 and I joined the corporate world, I spent over a decade as a professional photographer. My favorite part? Always the flowers. Flowers, flowers, and more flowers. Today, we're reconnecting with that beauty by visiting a botanical garden and taking pictures not with a fancy pro camera, but with the one we almost always have with us, our phones. I'll share a few things I look for when I'm in my creative element, just some tiny tips to help you notice more beauty wherever you are. Because once you start seeing flowers like little nature paintings, you'll begin finding quiet moments of peace in your everyday life.
Very important, very important. Before we start photographing with our phones, we are going to want to make sure that the lens is clean because, and I have just like a regular lens cloth, you can use it from your glasses or if you have a camera lens cloth.
In Southern California, we have this thing called June gloom, where it's overcast and slightly humid until about 3 p.m., depending on how close you are to the coast. Clearly, my hair was having none of it.
Mine constantly have fingerprints in it, even though I really try to make a conscious effort not to get fingerprints on them. But any little lens cloth meant for glasses works. I have this one that has a little clip on it. I think I got it for free at some photo expo years and years and years ago. But clean your phone. We're going to be photographing these white flowers back here. I don't know the name of them, but I will find out. And what we're really going to be focusing on with these is depth of field. So meaning that with these white flowers up close, which we're going to focus on with our phone, we're then going to have those white flowers kind of continue and continue and continue. How you can kind of see in this frame how we're basically making a background for our flower with more flowers just like it. And as it gets further and further away, they're going to get softer and softer, like more out of focus. So we'll be focused on one close up, but we'll have more continuous ones behind it that'll be softer and softer and softer until they kind of fade to be completely blurry, out of focus. But this is what we're working on. It's called depth of field. We're going to use our phone app. I have it on auto. And we're going to zoom in, which will help with that depth of field that we were talking about a little bit ago. So I'm going to find a flower, kind of stands out from the rest. And you can touch on your screen to lock the focus. This may be super basic for some of you, but in case it's not, you can tap on your phone to pick where you want to focus. And you can also tap on your phone and then you'll see like an exposure slider. So that is what makes it brighter or darker. So with flowers, I've found that it helps a little bit if you lock on it and then make it a little darker. It'll help the flowers stand out from the background. Another trick that you could use is turn your phone upside down. And sometimes it just gives you a better perspective. The trick with having your camera upside down is that then it's really easy to cover your camera, which I just did. So these flowers are pretty far away. So let's go find one that is a little bit closer so we can get a little bit more creative. we have this like yellowy cream, like a hint of pink rose, and it's right here next to the trail, which is going to make it really easy to photograph up close because it's right here. So don't forget, clean your phone and let's photograph this rose. So since it's so close, we can be a little bit more creative with our composition. So we can do a pretty wide shot with this rose and the little rosebud right behind it, or we can get really close and be a little bit more abstract, a little more painterly, like it's an oil painting, and we can just get maybe a side of the rose or just like a couple petals, and it doesn't even have to be completely in focus. It can like be every petal in focus, or it can be like soft and more like oil painting, which I know I just said, but that's the best way I can think of to describe it. So again, I'm still tapping on the frame of like where I want it to focus. And then I'm also tapping and holding, and then changing the exposure darker if I want a little bit more drama. Like that looks a little fun, dramatic. Or even like super, super bright if I wanted, but maybe something kind of in the middle. And we can get in really close. I do like this little flower bud. And what I'm looking at right now is, because the sky, it's, I'm getting here a little bit so you can see me. It's a pretty overcast day here, so the sky looks pretty much white, which can be cool for this particular spot because this flower is lighter. I don't really want it against also a light background. I'd rather have it against a dark one to help it pop a little bit more. So I'm playing with the angle of my phone so that the sky isn't behind it and distracting from the light flower. Yeah. Remember when I was talking about like the white sky and the light flower and not wanting the light flower up against the light background because then it will kind of blend in? You could throw that rule right out the window because that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yes, at this point in the day, I was sitting on the side of a dirt trail with a camera on a tripod, smiling quietly at bumblebees, while random people walked by with their families, staring at me awkwardly, including one of my past photography clients and a botanical garden volunteer. Eventually, the garden started getting crowded, and the fact that I skipped breakfast was catching up to me. So I packed up, headed back to my car, and planned to sort through my photos later. Back at home, I scrolled through my camera roll and picked one favorite to print at Walgreens. Nothing fancy, just a little 4x6 slipped into a gold frame I already had. It's not about creating perfect art, it's about holding on to a moment that made you smile. If you needed a sign to slow down today, this is it. Your next favorite photo might be hiding in plain sight, just waiting for you to notice.